What does champion mindset mean to you, both in sports and in life?
And then that's when I got selected in the Sports Authority of India's National Training Center. You are a crazy father, you're ruining your son's future.
It takes almost a village to raise an Olympian.
I broke my knee during a tournament in the semifinals where I was leading match point.
Basically, what is the blueprint of resilience?
In sports, it's a little bit different because it's kind of out of syllabus because you don't know what your opponent has worked for. As an athlete, I know one thing. Once I'm in the rhythm,
Personally, I've realized much more relevant is that a lot of times accepting failure.
you don't work on correcting them. You make them believe that we are working as a team. I want to be known by the rest of the world through that athlete.
Welcome to the Champion Mindset podcast series, a platform where we bring champions from sports and business and dive into the invisible game, the mindset that differentiates good from great and converts potential into champions. And today we have a champion who has played badminton at various national and international level championships, and currently he's serving as the coaching director and head coach at Frisco Academy, Dallas, USA, helping shape champions both on and off the field. He has worked at the intersection of sports, psychology, and high performance, not only creating winners, but also well-rounded individuals. Let me welcome Abhishek Ahlawat to our show today, and let's dive straight into the mind of a champion through the lens of someone who creates them. So Abhishek, so we have been hearing about mindset, that champion mindset is about creating the winning mindset. But what does champion mindset mean to you, both in sports and in life?
I think it's an evolving thought process. When I started as a young athlete, it was more of, oh, you gotta be in an Olympics, you gotta be a world champion, and and so on. It was always about being the champion, the literal meaning of the word. Because as a kid, you always look up to your idols, and then you think that, oh, I want to be like him or her. But over time, as I grew older, I took badminton professionally, and later on, I converted into a coach. I realized that champion mindset is not about always winning. It is about a constant growth, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and crafting your skill and getting better at that. So it's not always about measuring into medals. It's about your personal growth, your emotional growth, and your psychological growth as well. And as you progress further into your career, and it doesn't have to be just badminton. So I'm not talking just about badminton. In real life as well, my personal experiences where I have I have seen many ups and downs. So over the time, what I learned was, I think in between everything, the most important thing is the process. How consistently you're working to get better. Because once you take away your focus from just winning, it takes a lot of pressure away from your head. And then you realize that, oh, you have a potential to do a lot better than just to win a medal in particular. So I think champion mindset, I would say that it's about resilience. It's about keep going during the hard times and realizing that once you are into that consistent process of getting better and doing it for yourself when nobody is watching, it unleashes a different you. And I would summarize it, the process is the most important thing among all.
No, I think Abhishek, you have almost nailed the champion mindset. What we have been also training during our programs is that champion mindset is not only about winning, it's having the growth mindset. And then importantly, always trying to strive for better. Even if you're winning, then also you continue to strive for your best performance and keep raising the bar higher and higher. And then definitely a lot of resilience element that if the things are not going your way, how do you bounce back from those situations and stay focused? And one of the most important point you raised was having the focus and understanding of the process element, because that takes a lot of pressure away. And in fact, like, that has been one of my biggest learning after a long time. Like, for my career, for my academics, I've always been focused on achieving the target. Like, this is the goal, let me keep my eye on the goal. And that always created a lot of performance pressure at the time, when it was the critical moment. But as I started studying about these Olympians and champions, I've also realized that, because success is an outcome of process, not the target. So
Yeah.
once we start refining the process, the result is bound to come. And we have so much less pressure on during those final critical moments. So that's so much good to hear from somebody who has been in this space for so much time. So thank you for sharing that. So now I wanted to start and learn more about your journey. How did you start playing badminton? What drew you to the game? And when did it become your calling?
So, just like any kid in India, you come back from school, and every day my dad had this thing that you have to be out of the house doing something physical for at least
Mhm.
a couple of hours a day. So that could be anything. I played cricket, I played football, I I went out with friends and just play random things. And my dad used to play every evening with his friends. Sometimes they would play volleyball, sometimes they would play badminton, but um, most often it used to be badminton. And then that kind of attracted me towards the sport initially. And
Mhm.
I would ask my dad's friend to play with me and then, wait for my turn until they're all done. So I would say to begin with, that kind of generated that eagerness in me that, what? I want to be on the court to play, because as a kid, I would never get a chance to play because all the adults are playing over there.
Mhm.
So when finally one of my uncles, he was like, what? Let me play with you 5 minutes. Then, a week later, let me play with you 10 minutes. And they saw that this boy is hungry to get better. And then they started helping me. And then one of my seniors in the school told my dad that, Uncle, you know what? Why don't you let him participate in this district championship? No training, nothing as such that badminton is my sport. But I ended up entering into that tournament and I reached finals. And I lost to a boy
Great. That's great.
in the finals and I cried. I cried pretty bad. I was like, no, I wanted that gold medal. How come I lost and whatnot? So my mom, of course, a mother's heart, she consoled me. It's okay, beta. You will be fine. You are good. He was older than you. And then she gave me all sort of, consoling excuses where I would feel better about myself. Where my dad said, you have never trained. And if you don't train, the other person is going to an academy. Of course, you're not going to win against him. So I think that's a wrong expectation that you went in the court with, that you are going to get a gold medal. I sent you there to experience something. That was your first experience. Now you choose if you want to choose this as a sport competitively. And then we can find an academy and then you can get started with the training and then we see where it goes. Still, there is no guarantee you're going to be a champion. But if you like this sport, I can put you into this sport, but not with an expectation that you want to be a gold medalist or a world champion or something like that. So I feel that my father was the one who always kept me into that, where, hey, it's the sport. End of the day, you need to be a good sports person and try your best to be your best in it, not compared to somebody else. And then that's where all this journey started. And then I became a state champion a year later. So I was the first state champion in Haryana state from Rohtak district.
Wow, that's great.
And then from there, my first coach, he came to my father and said, you know what? I gave him the best I could do, and now he has started beating me. So you should send him to Delhi in some national level academy where he could be exposed to a better level of badminton sport. And then from there, I started going to Delhi. I used to take a train at 5 o'clock in the morning, reach there because my father was a teacher. He couldn't afford much financially to get me an accommodation in Delhi. So I used to travel morning 5 o'clock train all day there, come back at 9, 10 in the night just to sleep, pack my food for the next day. I did that for about 3 years. And then that's when I got selected in the Sports Authority of India's National Training Center. under
Mm.
Coach Madhumita Bisht and Coach Vikram Bisht. And that's where, I got those facilities where I got an opportunity to get an hostel in Indira Gandhi Stadium. And my parents didn't have to spend any money on the sport anymore. So it was a big relief on the financial side. And also, it was a big relief for my father that I'm in good hands.
So when was that happening? So when
That happened exactly in 2004. So
2004.
yeah, I was 14-year-old, and then that's when I started training
Mm.
full time. So, but at the same time, I had to keep up with studies too. So it was kind of hard. But if I look back, I think all those hardships have made me a better person and a stronger person in general, not just in badminton. Like I'm
So I
able to
can
say,
imagine.
huh?
I can imagine like coming from the India, and at that moment, like it was really your dad's courage also to help you steer in that direction, because otherwise, at that moment, being an engineer, being a doctor was considered as the most viable option in during
Oh,
those
at that
times.
time, all my dad's colleagues and friends used to tell him that, you are a crazy father, you're ruining your son's future. Because
Mm.
apparently at that time, badminton was seen as the girl sport. So I don't know
Oh.
why people said that, but
Mm.
this is an amazing sport, which many people know about it now. But at that time, nobody knew about it. But my father told all of them that I'm not making him a champion, or I'm not gonna have him a career in badminton. He's doing
Mm.
badminton full time because he loves badminton. And as a
Mm.
father, it's my responsibility to let my child follow what his dream is. Because if I
Mm.
don't let him do that, he will never be a good adult. He will never be a happy adult. And I think that's not a good fatherhood. So that's how he thought. And then I think I'm very fortunate in that era, the early 2000s, where everybody was running after, as you said, engineering and being a doctor, or getting into finances and economics. My father was like, no, do what you want to do, but only one condition: do with your
Mm.
100% honesty. So
So
I
that
think
was
that was a very big
really
support.
great for you.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
finally, you were able to make out the career also from badminton. So that's really something great, the way it has turned out for you.
Oh, of course. Like now, if I look back, everything has been great.
Mm.
But I'm not the only one. Everybody goes through hardships. Everybody
Mm.
goes through, bad times. There was a time where I hurt my leg back
Oh.
in 2007 when I was on my peak, and
Mm.
I broke my knee during a tournament in the semifinals where I was leading match point. So so that was a big setback, and then I ended up going under 6 surgeries for
Oh,
my knee. So I was
so
out of
like,
the sport for about 3.5, 4 years.
mm. So why so many surgeries?
It was a complicated injury. It was my
Mm.
ACL, both my meniscus, and then other ligaments were also affected. So
Oh.
it was a complicated surgery that my doctor had to perform multiple surgery onto. And
Mm.
then one of them got some complications, so they had to redo it as well. Yeah. So at that time, I used to feel that, all those bad things had to happen to me. And then I think that's a basic human tendency where you think that the world's biggest griefs and sorrows are fallen onto you, because you are in the middle of it. But again, it was my father who kept me positive. It was my mother's support who fed me well, who took care of me, took me to the physios every day.
Mm.
And there was a time where people said that I will never be able to walk properly, forget about playing. But I think that's where this word resilience comes.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? You gotta keep
Yeah.
going through, like they say, you're going through hell, keep going through it. You're gonna be stronger. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you
Mm.
stronger. They are very easier said than done, to be
Mm.
honest.
Yeah.
But that's the brutal truth of life, that,
Mm.
nothing comes in easy. And
Yeah.
I would say this resilience word, in my opinion, it's like very overrated word, but
Mm.
it has a lot of truth in it. But when you're going through those times, so what I was saying was like whenever the
Mm.
resilience is something,
Mm.
whenever you're going through rough times, it's very hard to go through it. You hate every moment of that. But when you get out of that situation over time, and then you look back, and then you came out strong, people say that, oh, look at his resilience.
Mm.
So resilience is just they have given you a stamp of resilience. But when you go through that, I think that's the most important part, that you remind yourself, not
Mm.
not this, motivational way that, oh, you know what, it's a hard time, it's
Mm.
gonna pass, and you're gonna come out stronger. I think the way it should be, you take one day at a time, be productive
Mhm.
about it. I think that's what
Mm.
resilience is something about, that you be productive about it. It's you take it as a task, not not as a big problem fallen onto you, rather,
Sure.
and not really a challenge.
Mm.
It's a task. It's just another task in your
Mhm.
life came in front of you, and then you
Mhm.
tackle with it. You find out
Yeah.
solutions to tackle with it.
Mhm.
So and if somebody says, "Hey, just be positive," it is not
Mm.
humanly possible.
Mm.
There will be negative thoughts. There will be thoughts that you feel like giving up. There will be thoughts that, you know what, maybe this is not my thing. I need to move on to something else. So I think that's the time you just look at it as a task, clear task, no emotions attached. So
Mm.
that's going to help you keep at it. If you
Mm.
bring in emotions to it, that's where the problem starts to grow. That's where you start to giving up.
No, no, that's a great point, Abhishek, you've raised. But we want to dive deeper into this for our viewers. Is basically what is the blueprint of resilience? Like what strategies you mentioned about taking one day at a time, not getting emotionally attached to things. So what strategies and support systems or have really helped you from that experience? Now if you have to face that or some similar challenge in different, hopefully you don't need to face that, but you can utilize those systems and strategies at display. So what do you think
So
like has been because so that we can give like a blueprint or a decode for our audience and they can go back and apply it in their lives.
understand. So my I mean, nobody can have a blueprint, to be honest,
Mm.
but
Sure, I
yeah,
understand.
but to kind of break it into the points, stepwise, how I have dealt with such situations. It's like the first and foremost thing is you take a pause and acknowledge.
Mm.
A lot of us don't
Mm.
acknowledge the problem, don't acknowledge the setback, don't acknowledge the challenge. We always
Yeah.
stay blindsided, or you know what, it's gonna be fine.
Oh.
Nothing gonna be fine until you do
Mm.
something about it.
Mm.
If a glass of water is standing here and you think that the
Mm.
water will come in it and get to your mouth, it's not
Mm.
coming.
Mhm.
So if something happens, some setback happens, I would say, like, we pause and acknowledge.
Yeah.
Because what happens with that is we know there is a situation.
Mhm.
And then we have acknowledged it, we have accepted it. From there, when we move forward, it's like disappointment is the first, I would say, reaction comes to us. And
Mhm.
we accept it. It's okay. We are
Yeah.
disappointed. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like things we worked on it, it didn't work. The
Mm.
certain way we were working, it didn't work.
Mm.
And that's how we get a setback. So we reframe it. That
Mm.
should be our next step. So when we reframe it, we it's basically we have to start from the beginning.
Mm.
And then when we start reframing it, we're gonna have to go one small step at a time.
Mhm.
So at that time, when you have gotten a setback and you start something again, you cannot just expect to be where you stopped. So for example, when I hurt my knee, I had to start like a beginner again. So
Mhm.
first you get back into physical well-being, then you get back into your mental well-being. And then you take one step at a time, just like a beginner, just like you started
Mhm.
when you started new. Whenever you keep that expectation, oh, I was here and now I'm here and now I need to get back here, it'll be a hard journey.
Sure.
So we always need to acknowledge that, I was here sometime because I had worked for it. But now I'm not here. There is a reason behind it. I have acknowledged the reason. I have reframed my plan of work. And now I'm going to start working from the beginning. So, one step at a time, we need to have small goals.
Yeah.
So, the way
That
I
makes
did it was one day at a time. every day morning you wake up, I have a journal where I write
Mm,
every morning. I give
mm.
myself 10 minutes what I want to achieve today.
Sure. No,
And
that's a
then I
great
write
start.
down. End of the day, I look at it, I reflect
Mm,
on it, and I see what I achieved. It's a tick
sure.
mark. What I didn't
Mm,
achieve, what were
mm,
the reasons? And then we
mm,
improvise.
mm.
So I always have, at the end of my journal, I have a big goal,
Yeah.
which we can talk some other time in details. That big goal, I will never
Mm.
achieve if I keep looking at it. Yes, you should always
Of
have a
course.
vision, but
Yeah.
you should not go crazy about it because it's not
True.
in your control. We should
Mm,
go crazy about the process.
mm,
So I would say this
uh,
this is basically in short my blueprint to
mm,
to kind of have
mm,
the vision in sight,
mm.
but work on the small goals every day. Because
Sure.
every day, if you spend 2 hours on something, if you look at it in 1 year, there are 365 days.
Sure.
So it's more than 800 hours given to it.
Mm. Yeah.
So when you do that,
Mm,
after 1 year, you see, oh my God, where I was and where I am. And then you put
mm.
4 years to that, then you put 8 years to that.
Yeah.
So I would say this is how I would summarize like the blueprint
Mm.
in my point of view.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So basically,
Mhm.
you're saying that first is to really acknowledge and face reality as it is, and then sort of restart from the wherever at what position you are,
Mhm.
and then set up. Though you may have a larger goal or blueprint in mind, but you break it down into a daily goal and just track progress against it so that you can continue to make progress, and over a period of time you again reach where you were, or maybe much ahead of that, because you have that learning curve from your past failures or past events as well, so that you
Correct.
don't repeat those mistakes again and again. Well, I
Yes.
think that's a very good strategy to have for overcoming the challenges, because most of the times you rightly said that we assume that things would automatically turn into our favor and the time will pass, but probably we need to be more proactive in tackling the problems head on. That's what the key message you're
Yeah.
saying.
And one more thing I would like to add to that is the support system you have around you.
Yeah.
Because nobody can
Yeah.
achieve anything alone.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah. So you really need to have your support network around you. Like
Hmm.
you cannot pick and choose people, of course, but
True.
I think it's your daily work and then
Mm,
the people you surround yourself with. You really need to have positivity around it because if
mm.
every day you're getting critics, you cannot be a positive person.
True.
Eventually, you're gonna
True.
sink into it. I think that's the psychological factor that many people like to deny because after they
Mm,
achieve something, they say, "Oh, you know what? It was my hard work. It was me."
mm,
But
mm.
I think my father always told me this that whatever you have achieved in your life, somewhere someone has been responsible to your success. They have a contribution to that, be it direct or indirect. That doesn't matter. Or whatever you couldn't achieve, it's somewhere you're responsible for that. So stop giving excuses that, oh, hypothetical things we do. For example, in my case, I
Mm,
was that person. If I look back
mm,
and it was quite childish,
mm,
I got hurt, and then I would see some of my batchmates or my fellow
mm,
players who were playing with me. There was a point where I was beating them. So I would go out loud and say, hey, you know what? I used to beat him easy. If I didn't get hurt, then I would beat
mm,
him now. So I think that's a very childish thing to do. They worked
mm,
hard to reach where they are. So you cannot just give this statement that, oh, you know what? Just because I got injured or just because
mm,
somebody didn't give me this opportunity, that's why I didn't achieve that.
mm,
That's like escapism. So I think we should acknowledge if we didn't achieve something, there must
mm.
have been somewhere, we are responsible for it. And the day we start doing that, you will feel that you're not scared of anything because you are acknowledging your own flaws. I think that's
True.
one of the biggest factors too.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, because no accomplishment can be achieved alone. So it is the support and accumulation of so many individuals. And like, in fact, like one of the Olympians, coach was also saying that it takes almost an village to raise an Olympian. So that's the kind of support system and the network you need to really have that massive level of achievement in any field, like be it sports, business, or art. So obviously nobody can achieve all these grand successes by themselves. Well, I think we had a very healthy discussion on resilience and the blueprint. Now I wanted to understand because the when the stakes are high, because you have a training, you have played so many international championships. Now you're coaching so many uh, badminton players who are playing at various international forums and championships. And recently, one of your coaches also won the Paralympic medal at Paris 2024 Olympics. So, how do you prepare yourself mentally to stay calm in those difficult moments? Because it's a in sports, it's a game of blink. Like the moment you lose the blink, you could lose the match or the set or the game. So, so what is your advice and strategy for staying calm and composed under those difficult moments?
So, like just in the beginning of our podcast, what you talked about, like how I started playing and how you look at the champion mindset, right? So,
Yeah,
just like that, as an athlete, when I used to think that champion mindset is all about winning.
yeah,
So, there had been instances where I was the favorite to win the tournament. I entered the
mm,
court and I came out losing. So, when I look back over time, every
mm,
time I lost a match which was a surprise loss, which I was
yeah,
supposed to win, which was an upset for me,
mm,
it one thing was in common that I went in with an expectation, and with a
mhm,
rather than expectation, with a desperation that I have to win it.
yeah. Oh,
So
so
what
that
I
was
felt
creating a
over
lot of
time
pressure on
is
you.
it's an inbuilt pressure. It's a
Mm,
self-imposed pressure on you. So
mm.
you will always succumb to it. You will never rise of it. So
No, that's
one major instance I remember, it was the U.S. national semifinals. We were top seed, and
mm,
I was ranked one in men doubles in the U.S. and we lost 21-10, 21-11, like
mm.
babies, and we lost to junior players. The only
Oh,
reason we lost that was because at that time I was so keen to win that, because if I became a national champion, at that time in US immigration system there was this thing
mm,
that, oh, you get a green card in 6 months. So
oh,
immigration wise it would be a big relief
mm,
for me that I don't have to worry about work visas and whatnot.
mhm,
But what happened to that was the whole night I kept on thinking about, what, tomorrow semifinal I'm gonna win, I'm gonna play finals, I'm gonna be the champion. So that I before I realized, it built so much pressure that I couldn't even play my basic game. So, and then later on in coaching, when I started coaching,
mm,
I felt that I was putting too much pressure on myself and on my coach, like my trainees as well. That, hey, you know what? We have to win this,
mm.
we have to win that, and I saw a lot of setbacks. So
Oh,
it was a learning journey where
mhm,
I realized that all we need to do is work our best, go out and enjoy. Because
mm,
it is more like you prepare for an exam, you sit in a class in the school whole year, and then you write the exam. You write the exam, what you have learned, nothing new.
mm,
In sports, it's a little bit different because it's kind of out of syllabus because you don't know what your opponent has worked for. So that makes stakes even higher, and then that makes it even more unpredictable. So, how you deal with that situation, the only one way is that you believe in yourself, go out and play it all. You don't have to worry about the result. It is always has to be secondary. Of course,
mm,
we keep a vision, we visualize that, hey, you know what? We are training to
mm,
win. But we visualize that during training, not during tournament. During tournament,
mm,
we stay composed. That's something, when stakes are high, you need to
mm,
stay calm because your energy is transferred to your training. So if they sense 1% of tension in me,
mm, mm,
they're not playing. They will be like, oh my goodness, this coach is not
mm,
looking at ease. I don't know what's
mm.
going on in his mind. So you always need to be that personality around them which soothe them because they are already under
Mm.
pressure.
Sure, sure.
So you always need to, uh, you know, reconfirm to them that, hey, you know what? You're doing great and I'm proud of you. Where you have reached,
Mm,
it's somebody's dream.
yeah.
Somebody is
Mm,
dreaming of just looking at this stadium with their own eyes. They're sitting in front
mm,
of a TV set and watching it.
mm,
So, what you have achieved, you have already made a history for yourself. So, from here, now onwards, you choose your ink. You want a
mm,
golden, silver, or bronze ink, it's up to you.
mm,
You want an invisible ink, you still will be in
mm,
the history
mm.
because you have made a history already. So that's kind of approach I took specifically in Paris Olympics.
Mm.
We were underdogs. We
Mm.
were nobody. Nobody knew us.
Mm.
We barely
Mm.
made it by 2 points. We qualified.
Yeah.
And we played against top seeds. When we played against top seeds, one of my
Mm.
players were really nervous and she was crying.
Mm. Mhm.
All I told her was that I am proud of her and what she has
Mm.
achieved, nobody
Mm.
has done. She's the first ever Paralympian from Team
Mm.
USA in badminton sport. So that itself is a history. Nobody can take it away from her.
Mm.
Now what she does from here is a cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
So we have
Absolutely.
baked the cake. It came out pretty well.
Mhm.
Now, do you want to eat the cake without the
Mm.
cream? With the cream doesn't matter. Cake is a cake.
Mm. Mm.
So these kind of things I do to keep my players sane. The
Mhm.
other things I do on the psychological part is I always keep them focused on the skill, not on the
Mhm.
result. Hey, we need to work on our, this clear
Mm.
or this smash. You have been working
Mhm.
on this smash so well. I would like to
Mm.
see you playing those smashes. What
Mm.
happens with doing that is their focus is diverted on the skill.
Yeah.
And then that helps them stay focused in the game because
Mm.
as an athlete, I know one thing. Once I'm in the rhythm, once I find my flow, all the noise fades away. It kind of becomes mute. You don't hear anything other than the game because you get into a different world. It's like there is a
Mm.
vacuum around you.
Zone. You get
Yeah.
into the zone.
So so as a coach, I feel that this is our fundamental duty to get our players into that zone,
So.
or rather to help them because they are
Mm.
also doing their homework. They have been training for years, so they know how to do it. It's just
Mm.
that sometimes we just need to channelize them into right direction.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I think like you shared very good insights about maintaining calm. So one is definitely the focus on the process, and then definitely getting into the zone and helping the whatever your performance zone is, how you can get into the zone can really help you to take the pressure off, and then always trying to be more supportive and positive in those situations so that you can. You're not taking any kind of pressure or and one thing I also realized which has not come as part of this conversation but personally I've realized much more relevant is that a lot of times accepting failure can really also take some pressure off. Like basically, if we know that even if it is a gap in process or if we don't win this game, it's going to be a learning curve, and next time we're going to be better because we'll learn what we didn't do well, and then the next time we're going to be better. So that also kind of helps you to uh, play without expectation. Sometimes what you said, you may have a better outcome also, but the fear of failure always also kind of sabotages our performance. That's what my observation has been a lot of times.
Oh, that definitely does. And what I do,
Mm.
especially for that, what I always do is, for example, like one of my players, he had his one of his group stage matches against ex-Olympic champion. So
Okay.
one of the players from India, he
Mm.
was the gold medalist. He beat everybody one-sided, and my player has never won against him. And he won the Tokyo Paralympics, and
Mm.
his first round was against him. And on that day, I see the tension in my player because he has never
Mm.
won against him, and
Mhm.
he's playing against a world champion and an Olympic champion. So that's huge for a 19-year-old boy because my player was a teenager boy, and that's his first ever Paralympics. So what I told him on that morning was, hey, you know what? Meet me in the
Mm.
gym at 5 a.m. Our match is at 4 p.m.
Mm.
I called him at 5 a.m. He said, hey, coach, are you sure? Because I have a match. I think I should take rest. No, what rest? It's just another day. We go, we train, I run with you, we play together, we go have breakfast, and then we take a nap. It's okay.
Mm.
We went out. I did not even talk to him about the match. We just did our regular training session, and I told him
Mhm.
only one thing. I am a lefty. Your opponent is
Mm.
a lefty. I
Mm.
can guarantee you one thing, I'm better than your opponent. If you can beat me, you can beat
Mm.
anybody. So I'm not even talking about one person specific. You can beat anybody in the world.
Mm.
It was a lie. I'm not the best in the world, but I'm his coach and he respects me. And then
Mm.
he sees really highly of me. That gave him
Mm.
a lot of confidence because that day morning I lost to him.
Mhm.
I did it on purpose, but that gave him a
Yeah.
lot of confidence. Then we went to the stadium. I told him, hey, I want you to report 3 hours before the match. He says, Coach, have you gone crazy? 3 hours, what will I do? I will get tired. I was like, don't worry, I have trained you enough. We had a 1 hour training session where that Olympian guy was sitting and eating an apple in his tracks and in his slippers. He wasn't even warming up. And I saw people laughing at my player that have they gone crazy, their matches in 3 hours. But what I was doing was I was preparing my athlete mentally and physically for the worst. And then my player literally came to me and told me, hey, coach, he hasn't even started warming up. I have changed 2 shirts. You're sweating me so much. Why? And I told him, that's just the first breath. You have a lot more gas in you. Don't worry. And then I told him that when you enter the court, the first 5 points, you're going to surprise him with your speed and he's going to be in a shock. And that's exactly what happened. My player entered, he beat him 21-15. Before he could realize, my player beat him. During the match, I told him, hey, you just beat an Olympic champion, first set, but it's a best of 3. The match is not done yet. Now he's going to come back. He's a seasoned player and he's going to come back at you and he's going to be fast. So don't get carried away. Just stick to the plan and you are a champion for me already. We have proved it. From here, we lose, it doesn't matter. We have a baseline to work on. We will come back after 4 years. We will beat him. So I'm not in a rush. We have a long way to go. So right now, I want you to play this game as if this is the last game of your life. I want to see how you're going to play if you never got a chance to play badminton ever again in your life. So how would you make it worth and make it count for yourself, not from me or anybody else? Forget there is anybody. Forget this is Olympics. Just play the game as if this is the last badminton match you will ever play in your life. My player was down 4-11 in the second set. From there, my player beat him 21-18.
Wow.
And it was a major upset of the Paris Paralympics. It's in the news everywhere. And then boy came and he hugged me and he said, Coach, what the heck did I just do? Did I just beat an Olympic champion? I was like, yeah, you just did it. He's like, Coach, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And then he was too happy. He was flying high. We went to the media. He did all the interviews with NBC Olympics and CNN and all the Indian media channels. He came out in the players' lounge and he was all happy going here and there. I said, hey, come over here, start your stretches. That was just another game. Now you stretch. You be prepared for the next one. This is not the end of the world. What I said was just to keep you controlled. That I did not mean literally that that's the last match of your life. So in the gist of this everything is that I just took away the result from him. I just kept him focused on one thing, who he was and why he was doing that. And I think that helps a lot.
Well, I think that's a very interesting incident you've shared. And what I was taking away from that entire conversation was that the role of coach was to have a lot of reinforcement of positive belief and priming, and you were priming him for success and you were priming him for confidence. So there was so much of priming happening before the match, and which was kind of the when you mentioned that you could take away the 5 points immediately was because he was so primed for with confidence and success that the other person was not so prepared in that moment, and that was the huge advantage in terms of the sports. So based on that, like what does great coach mean to you? Like basically John Wooden said that a good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. So you have so much vast coaching experience. So what does a great coach mean according to you? Based on your experiences.
Great coach. It's a very heavy word.
So you can define like somebody whom you think is, or maybe what a coach can bring out from a coachee and how they can extract the maximum potential from the trainees. So like maybe somebody, personally, I think like a great coach is somebody who can bring out the best potential or the best possible potential from their trainees.
So I would say like great coach is someone who can help you direct in a direction where you can be the best of yourself. And again, going back to our initial conversation, it's not about the results. It's about bringing out the best in you.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is, and that's gonna fit in on every
mm,
field in the world, not just in badminton or
mm,
in sport, like in the
mm,
corporate world, in a day-to-day life, in a family life.
mm, mm,
Bringing out best of you is a coach's, I think, fundamental responsibility and duty is to find your potential and then polish it, you know. But there are a lot of different ingredients in between it.
mm,
Uh, your personality, your
mm,
behavior, uh,
mm,
your work ethic, uh, and then being punctual. So all
mm.
those small things, I think a lot of us ignore or neglect,
Mm.
willingly or unwillingly, because
Yeah.
I feel like in today's world, people are running after the result a lot. So a
Mm-hmm.
great coach is differentiated from a, because all the coaches are good. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm not the best coach. My coach was not the best coach, but one of my
Mm,
coaches who coached me, who made me the person I
mm,
am today, he wasn't even himself a great international player or a great
mm-hmm.
national international coach. But for me, he was the best coach. So a great coach doesn't have to be the best coach for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but a great coach can be consistent with every single student, giving them the basic fundamentals to be a
Mm-hmm.
good sportsman. I think that's where it should start. It's the coaching philosophy should be more democratic, not
Mm-hmm.
not like, hey, it has to be this because I want it this way. I think you
Mm-hmm.
need to go, your approach need to be based on the player's need. Or if you're a life coach, based on your client's need or on your
Mm-hmm.
customer's need. Because you are working with one individual and every individual is different. So if I'm working with right now I'm working with 500 different athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot train them with the same way and everybody expect that everybody will get it. You will
Mm-hmm.
have to make those changes according to their personal needs. So I think uh, the major thing relies behind is the psychological approach
Mm-hmm.
in your coaching philosophy that you don't work on correcting them. You make them believe that we are working as a team. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what makes you a great coach. That you make them develop that faith in you, that trust in you, that we are working together. Not that he's my coach and he's coaching me and then period. You need
So
to
how does
become
that
one.
happen? Like, sorry to interrupt. How does that happen? Like, you are making those course corrections in the techniques and the play of the trainee without creating any kind of resistance or resentment. And sometimes you might need to play both. Like, you might need to motivate the person, and sometimes you might need to push the trainee also. According, you need to adapt. You mentioned
Yeah.
about the democratic
Mhm.
style of coaching. So
Yeah.
how do you strike that balance in your different
So
styles of coaching?
motivation part is the easiest part.
Hmm.
Motivation part is very easy part that you just talk
Hmm.
positive, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Correction part is something where you need to be careful with choosing your words.
Hmm.
So, so one way
Yeah.
I have gone through as an athlete in my coaches
Hmm.
is, and especially like
Hmm.
in our old times, we had
Hmm.
all our old school training styles in the coaches, and they would be like, "Hey, you're doing this wrong, get out. You're doing this
Hmm.
wrong, get out. If you don't
Hmm.
do that, go give me 1 hour running. You don't do
Hmm.
that, don't show up tomorrow." So
Hmm.
that is more autocratic training psychology, that it's a
Hmm.
consequence based. That if you
Hmm.
don't do it right, you get a consequence. So
Hmm.
it's a fear factor added to that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that part is something over time, what's going to happen is either the fear will go away and then you don't
Yeah.
care for that person saying anything,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you're going to be so scared that you
Hmm.
won't be able to perform to your level.
Hmm.
So I would say it should be more constructive. So rather than
Hmm.
saying, hey, you're not doing this right, we need to
Hmm.
say, hey, how can we make this work? Can we try
Hmm.
doing this? Oh,
Hmm.
looks like this one didn't work. Let's just
Hmm.
try this way.
Hmm.
Do you think we can do this differently? So these are
Hmm.
some of the things I do with my trainees.
Hmm.
And nobody is perfect. Like even I get
Hmm.
agitated sometimes. Hey, I have told you so many times why you're not doing that. But I
Hmm.
think that's where the time
Hmm.
comes where you control your emotions and you be
Hmm.
practical about it. And then you make sure you stay consistent to the
Hmm.
fact that we are working towards the same goal. And then there is no athlete or employee or person in this world who doesn't want to do good. They are
mm,
also thriving to do good. Yeah, so it should be the right approach should be the
mm,
constructive approach, I would say. So
mm.
in order to, and again, I said, like, great coach is a very big
Mm.
word. Any coach
Yeah,
should
I know.
follow that.
And it's very subjective
Yeah.
also.
So any coach should
Mm,
follow that constructive approach
mm,
if they want to see,
mm,
you know, the growth, the positive growth.
mm,
And it doesn't
mm,
have to be immediate. It doesn't have to be instant. It comes over time.
mm,
Sometimes you gotta be patient. So I would say the
mm,
the constructive feedback is the right word I would use. So
mm. So you're talking about constructive feedback, but don't you think like sometimes being direct also helps? Like the direct feedback, though it might sound a little
yeah,
harsh,
I mean
but
the
it might
feedback can be
bring more
direct.
reality check. Like,
Feedback can be direct
huh.
but constructive. So if I give you an example, if one of my
Can you help me like decode
yes,
that? Like basically,
yes.
what do you
So
specifically
uh,
mean by that?
so I was at this stage 4 years back, like what you just said, right? I
Yeah.
was not able to decode it, and it was one
Mm,
of my ex students. She's a sports
mm,
psychologist right now by profession,
yeah.
and she,
Yeah.
she actually visited us just before COVID, and she helped me a lot
Yeah.
understanding those areas. So, so
Mm-hmm.
the way I would do it is I would be direct, but
Mm,
how do you say, not confronting. So that's what I would say.
mm,
The feedback can be direct, but still constructive. So rather than saying, "Hey,
mm,
you're not doing this right," you can say, "Hey,
mm,
I see that this is not going right. You are not doing this right, and I see where the problem is. How can I help you?
mm,
Do you want me to help you here?"
mm,
So you always
mm,
be direct that, "Hey, you're not doing this right," but you always
mm,
back it up with a positive statement too. So you say, "You're not doing this
mm,
right, but I see where it's going
mm,
wrong, and I have a solution.
mm,
Can we work towards this way?
mm,
Do you think we can do
mm,
it this way?" So what happens with that is you're giving them a psychological opportunity to be part of it. So one is your
mm.
teacher is coming and opening a book and telling you,
Sure.
"Hey, today we are learning this in the class. Write it in your
Mm,
book, and I want you to do this homework
mm,
tomorrow. Show me." One is,
yeah.
"Hey, we are doing this chapter today. How many of you are, raise your hands. How many of you want to give me a guess? How do you think this should be, or how do you think that should be?" You should always keep an open channel of communication end of your statement, because when you do that, you don't close them off. So whenever we teach them something new, as a coach, I always try to keep that open channel of communication where they have something to say. It could be as simple
Sure.
as that you explain something, demonstrated something, and you ask them, "Hey, do you guys have any questions for me? Can I make it easier
Sure.
for you?" So that way, what happens is
Mm-hmm.
they feel included.
No, that's a very interesting element which you have shared, and I think like that's very helpful. Even I'm realizing maybe for our training programs also, like at the end of explaining certain things, we can keep something more open ended so that it brings them also as part of that discussion, and they become more participative in the discussion and the feedback process. So I think that's a very fine element which you have shared and can be easily incorporated in those difficult conversations, feedback conversations, so that it doesn't hurt the other person so
Yes.
much, and person is still looking forward to move positively in that direction. Because a lot of times, based on my corporate experience, I've seen when people are receiving feedback, they become very defensive.
Yeah, I used to be too. It's a basic human tendency. When I started my coaching
Yeah.
career, whenever a senior
Mm,
coach would come to me or the boss would come to
mm,
me and give me a feedback, I would
mm,
immediately be
mm,
defensive. "Oh no, I was trying to do this, I was trying to do
mm,
that."
mm,
But over time, I have
mm.
realized that not everything is coming and biting you.
Mm.
Sometimes it could be helpful
Yeah.
for you to grow. But for that, the first step is to acknowledge. If we close
Sure.
our brain and close our doors to receive
Mm,
anything, that's when we become
mm,
defensive, because we think that, "Hey, you know what? I know everything. How come you are telling me to
mm,
correct this? Because I did it best. How can you blame that it wasn't good enough?" Because you have not been there. And somebody who is telling you who has been there before you a
mm,
decade ago, I think we
mm,
should have that
mm.
open mindset to be all ears and
Yeah,
listen. But it's the way they tell you. So there was one of my
true.
senior who came and told me, "Hey, Coach
Mm,
Abhishek, you're not
mm,
doing this. I want you to do it this way."
mm,
And then I got offended that, you know what, I'm also a
mhm,
coach. I also
mm,
have enough
mm,
qualification to be here because you're working at the same level as me. How come you are telling me that? That was going on in my
mm,
mind, where another person who is younger than me in age, but he comes and tells me something, but he tells me so beautifully that I go
mhm,
awestruck and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's something I can really
mm,
do. Like, because the way he
mm,
came and said, "Hey, coach, you know what? They're doing amazing, but if you could add this element to that, they could be faster."
mm,
So that
mm.
immediately gave me that, just, you know what? Somebody's trying to help me. Where the other
Sure.
one was, oh, somebody's trying to correct
Mm.
me.
No, I think it's a very interesting conversation. Maybe we can do an entire next podcast only on giving and receiving
Yeah, of course.
feedback,
Yeah.
because and that's something very important as part of the champion mindset, growth mindset, and in general, like we keep on receiving feedback from our parents, and everyone keeps on giving feedback, who may be authorized or not authorized, and keep on sharing their opinions also. So now we're coming almost towards the end of the discussion, in interest of time. So I wanted to know what kind of life lessons do you integrate into your coaching that your coaches or trainees carry forward, even even if once they've left your academy. So they obviously become the student for your for
Mhm.
life. But what life lessons they carry in heart, like that is something I learned from Abhishek's
So,
as a
yeah, so
coach.
when I started my coaching career, I used to do a lot of reading, and I used to read a lot of
Mm-hmm.
senior coaches, not just in badminton, in different sports. So I remember one of the coaches' interview I was reading. So one of the news reporter asked him that, uh, you know, how do you see yourself? Like, what is your coach's coaching identity? Like,
Sure.
how do you want to be
That's
recognized as a coach? Like, what kind of
that's a deep
what?
question. It's a very deep
Yeah.
question for you.
So it was so beautifully answered, and I was touched by
Mm.
it, and then I almost follow that philosophy now.
Yeah.
So he said that I want to be known 20 years later through an athlete,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to be known by the rest of the world through that athlete, what kind of human he becomes after 20 years. Right now, I have a 10-year-old athlete. I want to see what
Yeah.
kind of 30-year-old adult person he is. And that's gonna define what kind of coach I was to him. So so that's something. I'm not into coaching that long, and as you know,
Mm,
these days I'm in the US. So I starting this
mm,
journey in Frisco badminton from scratch, where I started coaching
mm.
7, 8-year-old
Yeah.
kids. Some of those kids
Yeah.
are graduating this year from high school,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting into
Yeah.
colleges. So some of them got into Ivy League schools, some of them got into very big universities.
Great.
And
That's
all of
great.
those parents are coming to me and telling me, "Coach, you have changed my kid." And none of them have become champions. Like when we talk about
Mm-hmm.
champion mindset, right? So none of them
Mm-hmm.
have won a single national tournament. But all of them were selected in one of the top schools. And the only thing the parents and the kids are telling around is that badminton has changed them. And to be specific, they take my name, but I don't acknowledge it because it's a teamwork. So it's
Yeah.
it's a too big of a credit for me to take that,
Mm.
oh, Coach Abhishek changed your life. It's a teamwork. Just like you said, it takes a village. To grow an athlete, it takes way more than a village. It's like too many elements to that. So right now, those kids, I remember seeing those little kids always on the screens,
Mm.
not eating properly, not listening to parents, talking back. Now all those kids are,
Mm.
examples for other parents. Those same
Of
parents
course.
who used to come and complain to me that, "Hey, coach, you know what? He's not eating well.
Mm.
These other kids in his class are doing this so good. He's not doing that, or she's not doing that." Now they are coming to me and saying that other parents are coming and taking counseling from them how they raise their child. So I think sport is a very big part in their life that has changed them as a person. So I think that's something is I would say that is a very big achievement for me, coaching these kids, making
Of
them better humans, not just champions.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct. I think like they're carrying the champion mindset with the being better humans also. So
Yeah. So
it's
that's
a
exactly what the
totally
parents are
integrated
coming and
approach.
telling me. Like one of the parent,
Yeah.
I was with him yesterday only. He was coming and telling me. He asked me to come on a dinner because his son made it to Cornell University. So that's a big
Mm-hmm.
university.
Yeah.
So he said, Coach, I see so much, uh, how do you say, like uniformity in my son now. Earlier, he would sit to work on something, and 5 minutes later, he would jump onto something and then jump onto something.
Yeah.
Now, I see that
I can
same
imagine.
kid bringing 10 more kids with him and doing a project and keeping all 10 of them together, engaged with him. So, that is a huge change
Mm-hmm.
in him after he started playing badminton.
Nice.
That same kid used
Yeah.
to throw up on the court and I would be cleaning everything because he's my student. And he said, Coach, I used to feel embarrassed that you have to do all that. But now I see why you did that because now my son is doing that to other kids. That son would not even take off his plate after the lunch from the table. Now that son cleans the house and then makes up his bed and, you know, doing all those things, supporting others. So he said that's something which many parents fail to see what they earn getting
Yeah.
their kid into a sport. So I think
Yeah.
that's something, yes, I can take the little bit of credit because that's coming from my father, from my coaches who taught me that winning is not everything. There is a lot of other
Yeah.
factors which you gain during your career as an athlete, as a student, which you can pass on to the community. And then that's how you make our
Sure.
world better. So these things don't really look rewarding at first, but on a bigger scale, when you see it, they have really high importance in life.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's like a transformation you are bringing out in that person through a very integrated approach. Do you offer any kind of online uh, coaching sessions? Also, my daughter, I would love my daughter to be coached by you and bring that transformation for her also. And it would be awesome. Or maybe whenever you come to India,
Of
at
course, I
least,
would
uh,
love to meet her and chat with
yeah,
her,
very,
but I have never done anything like that, to be honest. But yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm just joking. But I think it has been a very useful conversation. We could dive deeper into the elements of coaching, giving feedback, champion mindset, creating a blueprint for resilience. So, those are some of the very important topics which are common for people who are working in sports, business, or any field. And these are something which happen in our day-to-day life and how we can integrate those lessons into our day-to-day living to develop a champion's mindset. So it has been a very useful conversation, and I really thank you so much for your time and taking time out for from your schedule to help us and share this with the larger audience. Thank you so much, Abhishek, and we are very proud to have you on our show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.